episode 4. This one entitled Wildcat. So we're finally getting into some of the other characters on the show, because in the last episode, Courtney spoke about she was telling Pat that we gotta bring the JSA back together, and Pat told her that was a stupid idea because he was just like, nobody can actually be the Justice Society, like these people were special. And I believed him because these people, I was under the impression these people had special abilities. Like a lot of these people had superpowers, like they had a lot of training for certain things. And I was like, you can't find new people because you just can't wear the costume and then become a Justice Society member or become a superhero person. You have to actually have some sort of powers or training. Apparently that wasn't the case, and all you got to do is just put on the costume. So so it takes us, so now the episode focused on Yolanda. She finally has a name. Yolanda is the girl who has been slut shamed for the last 3 episodes. They take us to 3 months ago, and it shows us what her life was like before she got shamed. She but apparently, like, she was a good kid. She was a boxer. She did a lot of boxing. Once I saw her doing boxing, I'm like, okay. I was like, so this started to make more sense. So she was a boxer. She was involved in school politics, and I guess she was running for like school president or something. She had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend was Henry, who was Brainwave's son. So she actually used to date Brainwave's son. The head mean girl, the mean girl, the one that has the silver streaks in her hair. She basically hated Yolanda from day one. Like, she hated her. Like, she was running for president at the same time Yolanda was running for president. She didn't like her. She hated the fact that Yolanda was dating Henry, because I guess, like, she wanted to date Henry. So, like, the girl is just jealous. She was jealous, and she wanted to take Yolanda down. So now, we fast forward to, I guess, like, they were doing the school, like, the school elections. The night before the elections, Yolanda's doing her homework. Henry texts her. And then, again, because they're dating, and then he was just like, yo, send me some nude photos or whatever, like, send me some sexy pictures of you. So I'm like, okay, not a big deal. Like, everybody does that, so she sends him the pictures, so again, it's all good. The next day she goes to school, she votes, everybody votes, and, they're talking about the whole class president thing. So, but because the girl got, because she was getting slut shamed, I'm still waiting for, like, the bad thing to happen here. But there was a weird moment. There was a moment where Yolanda was, like, walking down the hallway, and Henry was talking to some of his friends. And I don't know if he was showing his friends her pictures or if they were just talking about whatever, but the mean girl walks up to Henry, takes Henry's phone, and then Henry immediately snatches his phone back, and then he's just like, yo, what are you doing? That's not cool. And then he walks away. So now we're in the school auditorium. I guess, like, where everybody's trying to decide who the next president is. And then all of a sudden, the mean chick takes out her phone, presses a button, and the pictures that Yolanda had sent her boyfriend ended up getting sent to every person's phone in the school, in the town, or or whatever. So the whole world, I guess, like, saw her naked. I don't even know if they saw her naked, to be honest, because when they showed the scene of her actually taking the photos of herself, it kind of looked like she was, like, because if you look, she had one arm out, but if you look at her shoulder and her other arm, it almost looked like she was covering herself with her other arm. So I'm like, they probably didn't even see anything. So, but and to me, I was shocked because for the last 3 episodes, they've been calling her a slut, like, they've been calling her a whore, like, like, Courtney even used the term slut shaming. So I'm thinking the girl got in trouble because they caught her having sex with her boyfriend under the bleachers or something. Like, I thought it was something way worse than her just sending her boyfriend, like some pictures. But also, and this is something that I have to remember specifically, she's a teenager. Like, they're portraying, I mean, well, in real life, like, they're all probably like 21 years old, but she's portraying a teenager. Like, this is a high school environment. And I do have to keep that in mind, that for me specifically as an adult, what she did isn't, like, to me, I'm just like, okay, it's not a big deal, so what? But to a high school kid, when the entire school sees you naked, because kids, because like, even, I mean, adults do too, but kids mostly, they deal with, body shaming, because when you're a child, when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, you're trying to develop into an adult. And a lot of times you're not happy, like kids aren't happy with themselves. They're not happy with how they look. They're not happy with, how their body is or their hair or how they speak. Like there are a lot of insecurities that go on. So I guess for her to be exposed like that in front of the entire school as a high school kid, that was extremely devastating. So obviously, so she didn't become school president. I guess the mean chick ended up becoming president instead. And she got mad at Henry because she blames Henry, like Yolanda blames Henry for exposing her photos. Now, I'm going to say this. When her photos got exposed, and throughout the entire episode, really, Henry didn't come across as a person who was doing something devious and sneaky just to be a dickhead. He actually showcased like genuine remorse, and you can tell he actually felt bad for what happened to her. I don't think Henry sent those photos out, and here's why. When the mean chick came through and she grabbed Henry's phone, she didn't have Henry's phone for that long. Yolanda obviously didn't send her the pictures. The only person who had the pictures was Henry, but the girl had her phone for at least 5 seconds before Henry grabbed the phone and took it back. That girl is a meta, and I'm gonna say her meta ability has to do with controlling technology. Just by her touching, this is my prediction, because I can't understand how else, because like I said, I don't think Henry did it on purpose, and I don't understand how else those photos could have gotten to the other, to the mean chick for her to display them to the entire school, unless that girl is a meta who can control tech. So my guess is when she grabbed Henry's phone for those 5 seconds, she was able to transfer the contents of his phone over to her phone, and she was also able, because I'm like, how does a high school kid have the ability to spread someone's photo to every single person in the school at the same time? You do not have every single contact number of every single person in that damn school in your phone. There is no way she could have sent those photos to that many people. So the girl's a meta. Like, the mean girl's a meta, because even then, like the next day, Henry had bumped into Yolanda, and then the two of them just kept walking, whatever. So then the mean chick, because like now the mean girl and Henry, they're dating now. So she saw Henry and she was just like, oh, what did Yolanda say to you? And he was like, nothing. She didn't say anything. And then he walked away. So then like the mean chick, she rolls up on Yolanda and she's like, stop talking to my boyfriend, bitch. And she's just like, everybody saw what you're all about, blah, blah, blah. And then, then after that, I'm like, Courtney got mad. And then Courtney came over and she's like, look, bitch, like she's like, yo, you've been messing with her ever since I got to this school. And then, she stuck up for her. So then, and this is very interesting, because the mean chick said to Courtney, she was like, you don't know who you're messing with. And then Courtney was like, well, you don't know who you're messing with. But then the girl, she specifically said to Courtney, I can make you disappear and nobody would even know, or I can make you go away just like that. I'm like, this chick is a meta. she's a meta, because no one would say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one has the power to do that. And it does, it's like, obviously, like, she comes from a rich family and her family has influence, but no one's influence is that good. Like, the girl is the mean girl, she's a meta. That is my prediction. And her meta ability has something to do with technology. So now Courtney, she ends up, trying to talk to Yolanda. And then, she told her, she was like, listen, then Yolanda was like, why are you following me? Stop trying to save me, whatever. And then Courtney told her, she was like, look, she was like, I got it wrong. It's not me who needs to save you. She was like, I'm the one that needs your help. And then, she told her, she was like, listen, there's something going on with school and I need your help to take it, to stop it. So then obviously Yolanda was just like, yo, you crazy. Can you leave me alone? So then Courtney was like, look, she was like, come to my house and just have dinner with me and my family. I'll tell you everything. And if you don't like what I got to say, then I'll leave you alone. So, Yolanda was like, all right, I'll think about it. So Yolanda goes home. She runs into her parents, and then it's been 3 months since the photo incident happened, and her parents are still shutting her out and treating her like shit. Like, her mom doesn't even look at her in the eye. Her dad doesn't talk to her. The grandmother doesn't talk to her. The only person that actually speaks to Yolanda is her brother. And I'm like, and that's messed up, because it doesn't, like, that's your kid. Like, at the end of the day, like, that like, that's your child. It's like, kids make mistakes, you know what I'm saying? Like, she did, you know, and even then, like, when Yolanda was talking to Courtney, you know, Yolanda had even, she was telling Courtney about the photo situation, and then Yolanda was just like, she was upset with herself, and then she was just like, I should have never taken those photos. And Courtney was like, no, he should have never shared those photos. And I'm like, and I agree with that, because, I mean, well, obviously, you're a high school kid, you're a minor, so no, you shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, you're an individual, people have, you know, the free will to do whatever they want. So if she want to take photos of herself, she could take photos of herself, but he was wrong for, you know, I mean, again, I don't think he really did it, but in the contents of the story, it's not about, she's like, oh, the entire school saw, you know, saw me because I took those pictures. It's like, no, the entire school saw you because that son of a bitch sent those pictures. It's like, let's keep that in you know, like, into perspective. And then Yolanda even said, she was just like, you know, she's like, I'm not a bad person, but she's like, I really hate Henry. And then, you know, so then, like, you know, so she goes home. Yolanda, she talks to her mom. She asked her mom, she was like, hey, can I go to, you know, Courtney's house for dinner? And her mom was like, no, because you're grounded, Yolanda. And then she's like, how long am I grounded? And then she was like, for life. You know, and I'm just like, that's messed up. Because the girl gotta go outside at some time. Like, you can't, like, her parents' whole thing is, this isn't about Yolanda anymore. Like, it's not about what Yolanda did. This is about her parents, because, like, her parents are more concerned with how they're perceived by the public than they are about their own kid. It's about their social status. You know, it's about the fact that, you know, they're not saying like, wow, my daughter made a mistake, she did something really bad and she's suffering for it and she's hurting for it. Her parents' whole thing is, we're embarrassed and it makes us look bad. And that's fucked up. Like, I'm sorry to say, like, that's messed up, because at the end of the day, forget everybody at school, forget the neighbors, forget the other parents, forget the teachers. That's still your kid. You know what I'm saying? And do you punish her for, you know, for what she did? Yes. Do you educate her and talk to her about what she did? Yes. But at the same time, you still gotta love her, because that's your child. And her whole family shut her out, and I thought that was fucked up. So then, you know, and because that's, so the mom was like, you can't go out to dinner. And so she didn't go. So the next day, like, you know, Courtney rolls up on her. She's like, yeah, what happened at dinner? And then Yolanda was like, look, I told you, you know, I don't want to be your friend, blah, 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 which is a lie. And then Courtney told her, she was just like, hey, I'm the one who blew up Henry's car. So, you know, so now she's just like, well, how did you blow up Henry's car? Like, you're 15 years old. And then she was just like, yo, come with me and I'll show you. So she takes her to, you know, like, so Courtney takes her to her house. She shows her like the cosmic staff, and I'm just like, so we just spilling the beans. It's like, we just spilling the beans outright. But even earlier when Courtney was talking to Pat, you know, she was just like, come on, Pat, like, we gotta put together the new team. And he was just like, no, he's like, there is no new team, you know. And then, but remember, Courtney had stole all that JSA paraphernalia, and she got all that stuff up in the house. So she shows Yolanda the Stargirl staff, and then she's like, yeah, my dad was Starman, he was a superhero, and then, you know, we're chasing bad guys. And then she was like, I need your help. So Yolanda looked at her, she's like, yo, this girl is loca. And then Courtney was like, all right, come upstairs and I'll show you. So Courtney puts on the Stargirl costume. She shows her, listen, I'm Stargirl, I'm a superhero. She gives Yolanda the Wildcat costume, because the Wildcat costume was one of the things she took from the JSA. And then she tells Yolanda to put the Wildcat costume on. Now, remember what I was saying before about how I thought you actually needed superpowers to be a superhero? Apparently not. You just need the gear, because Yolanda put the Wildcat suit on. She took the Wildcat helmet, and as soon as she put the Wildcat helmet on, I guess, like, well, I mean, I was about to call it nanotech, but I don't think nanotech existed back then, so it had to be magic or something. Basically, the helmet basically turned into a suit, and it took the clothes that she had on, and it made the clothes fit her, like, actually fit her body, because when she put the Wildcat suit on, it didn't fit. It was like, you know, 3 sizes too big, but then, like, it conformed itself to her body type and her body size. So now Yolanda is she's the new Wildcat, you know. So, and then I mean even Courtney, I mean, that was the funny thing, like, Courtney has a glowing flying talking staff and Yolanda's suit turning like Yolanda's helmet body forming into a suit for her. That was a surprise. I'm like, so where we draw the line as far as like shock and, like, and expectations. I'm like, you surprised about that? So anyway, so now they're trying to, so now Yolanda's all on board. She's just like, yo, let's do this. And then now they're going through the training process. You know, they went on Wikipedia to try to find out what Wildcat, you know, his abilities were. They were just like, oh, you know, he can use his claws, so she had claws. They're just like Wildcat, you know, he had agility, so she used her agility. And they're just like Wildcat always landed on his feet, and she was like, yeah, we ain't jumping off buildings, we ain't doing that. So, so then, you know, so then like while the two of them were outside training, they saw Henry getting into a limo, and he was going somewhere. So they were just like, well, that's weird. Where's Henry going this late at night? And then Yolanda said, well, maybe he's going to see his dad. And then Courtney was just like, yeah. She was like, his dad is Brainwave, who's a supervillain. She was like, you know, Henry's dad is a supervillain. And then Yolanda thought about it, and she was like, you know what, that actually makes perfect sense. So they go down to the hospital, try to find out what Henry was up to. You know, they so they show you like Yolanda, she's like scaling the walls, like climbing up the building. Courtney jumped on the staff and she flew around to the other side. So now the Beth, the black girl, Beth, she showed up at the hospital because her mom works at the hospital, and she was bringing her mom dinner. Her and her mom were having a conversation where her mom was basically telling her, she was like, look, dear, she was like, it's cool. She's like, I don't have a problem with you having dinner with me, but she was like, you can't keep coming to my job every single day after 8 p.m. at night, you know, just to bring me dinner. Then Beth was just like, but mom, you know, like, you're my friend, you and dad are my best friends. And her mom was like, nah. Her mom was like, nah, we ain't doing that. So, you know, so they're trying to set Beth up, you know, to be the next person to, you know, to join Courtney's team. And that was messed up, because I want to point this out too, because in the last episode, when the magician kid died, when Courtney was talking to Pat about it, Courtney had said to Pat, like, oh, the magician kid, he was the first kid at school that was ever nice to me. And I'm like, Beth? Like, Beth had you on Skype with her parents during lunch. I'm like, Beth has said hi to you every single day. She has waved at you. She introduced you to her parents via Zoom. Like, and then she's gonna be like, the magician kid was the only kid at school. I was like, that's jacked up, because Beth was nice to you from like Jump Street. But anyway, you know, so Beth at the hospital. So now Yolanda ends up in Brainwave's room. She sees Henry there, and because Yolanda got beef, you know, because she blames Henry. You know, she blames Henry for exposing her, you know, photos to the school. She actually took her claws out, and she was about to cut the back. She was about to slice the back of Henry's neck. But then, you know, Henry started crying because, you know, his dad's still in the coma, Brainwave's still in the coma. So when she saw him like crying over his dad, she kind of felt bad, and then she backed off. Henry left the room. And then, you know, Courtney showed up. She flew up to the window. Courtney and Yolanda, they're both in Brainwave's room now. And then the principal of the school coming, and I told y'all, I said from Jump Street, I said the principal is part of this. The principal's a supervillain. The principal came into the room. She bust out a violin. So I'm like, who is she? The maestro? I'm like, let me find out she's the maestro. I was like, she bust out a violin, started playing the violin for Brainwave, and then she left. Courtney and Yolanda, like, they took them, you know, like the visitors log of all the people, because they were trying to find out who are the members of the Injustice Society. And she said that, well, if Brainwave is a member and if he's in the hospital, why would his villain friends not visit him? So they wanted the list of visitors so they can try to rule out who the Injustice Society is. But the principal didn't sign the paper. And then they were just like, that's weird. Why would the principal not be on the guest list or sign on the visitors list and sign the paper? And then they're just like, well, maybe because she is a supervillain and she doesn't want anybody to know that she was there. So, but I already said she was a supervillain. And the guy who keeps, the Crusher, the guy who keeps telling Pat, we got to pump iron, we got to get brick, he's probably Sportsmaster. So I'm just throwing that out there. So anyway, so then after that, Yolanda and Courtney, they both jump out the window. They're outside having a loud ass conversation, talking to each other. And while they're both in costume, they're calling each other by their real names while they're in costume. Beth was outside because I guess Beth was going home. Beth was outside directly under them when they were talking, and she heard them call each other Courtney and Yolanda, or at least Yolanda. Like she heard Courtney say Yolanda out loud. So now Beth knows at least. I mean, once you figure out that Yolanda is Wildcat, it's obvious Courtney's Stargirl because that big old blonde hair. But so basically now Beth is aware of the situation. And Beth knows that Yolanda's Wildcat. And obviously because Beth is the type of character who gets overly enthusiastic and can't keep her mouth shut, Beth is going to confront Yolanda like the next day. Because we're up to episode 4 and apparently it's only been a week. Because, you know, Yolanda even said to Courtney at one point, she was like, "How long have you been Stargirl?" And then she was just like, "Well, for about a week now." So the first 4 episodes have taken place within like a week's time, and a school week at that, because you know there were no weekends happening. And so this whole thing basically, like, the first episode of Stargirl was like Monday, so today's like Thursday, you know, which means next episode is going to be Friday. So you know, so like the entire season of Stargirl will take place within the first 2 months of high school. So now so then after that, so you know, they go back to the house and they're just like, "Oh, we got to find out who the Injustice people are. We got to find the list." And then Yolanda's like, "Look, Courtney," she was like, "I appreciate you like choosing me to be Wildcat," but she was like, "Listen, because of everything that I dealt with the whole photo situation," she was just like, "I got to take care of that first." You know, she was like, I still got a lot of baggage with that. My parents still aren't talking to me. She was like, "You know, I was destroyed after that whole situation happened." And she's like, I got to get myself back before I can go out there and help you fight crime." So Courtney, of course, Courtney don't listen to nobody. She doesn't understand anybody's point but her own. But she didn't put up a fight. She let you know, like she let Yolanda go. Yolanda goes home, starts talking to her parents. She told her parents, she was like, "Listen, it's been 3 months. I understand I messed up." She was like, "But I apologized. Honestly, I'm not apologizing anymore. It happened. It's over. You're my family. You know, like, I love you guys, and like, we're supposed to move on from this together as a family. You're supposed to have my back. Like, I'm your daughter. Like, I'm a kid. You're supposed to help point me in the right direction." She was like, I'm basically tired of being shut out. You know, she was like, I want to work to be the person that I used to be." And then her mom gonna be like, "You'll never be who you used to be because you've brought shame to the family." I'm like, this bitch. I'm like, it is a crying shame when a parent is more concerned about their social status than their own kid. And that was very disappointing. The son got mad at his parents, and, you know, and he walked out of the room. I mean, who knows if her brother ends up becoming somebody, but he got mad, he left, you know, Yolanda left. And then Yolanda's whole thing was, she was like, at that point, you know, she was upset, she was upstairs, she was crying. But at that point, Yolanda was like, "You know what, fuck it." You know, she was like, "Look, I tried." She said, "I did what I did. I apologized." You know, you can't, that's the thing. It's just like, you can't be punished forever for doing something, because it's been 3 months. The fact that her parents are still upset with her 3 months later, it is no longer about her, and it is now about the parents. Because she even told Courtney, she said, "My parents don't even drive anywhere near the school anymore." And I'm like, sorry, like, your parents ain't shit. Like that's just keep it real. Like, Yolanda parents ain't shit. And I'll be and I wouldn't be surprised if one of them isn't a damn villain. But you know, but at that point, Yolanda said the same thing. She was just like, "Look," she's like, "I'm done." She's like, "I'm done." And then, you know, she looked at the windowsill, and the Wildcat costume was in the window, and there was a note from Courtney that was just like, you know, "I can't do this without you." Like, and I'm like, for Courtney, that was kind of messed up, because, you know, the girl just basically spilled the beans and told you like her ultimate shame. The least you could have did was just said, like, Courtney's note could have said something more like, "Hey, I need you, but I understand what you're going through. So when you're ready to be my Wildcat, here's the suit, and I'll be here waiting for you whenever you're ready." The note was just like, "Yo, stop playing. I need you." The note was like, "Yo, I need you to be Wildcat. Stop bullshit." You know, so, but then Yolanda was just like, she was like, "You know what? Fuck it." You know, like I said, she was just like, I'm sick of it. Like, so she put the costume on. She went back to Courtney's house. She knocked on the window, and then Courtney was like, "Yeah, I got my Wildcat." And now the two of them are going to try to take down the Injustice Society. Pat, throughout the episode, Pat basically, so the woman who was married to the magician, I made a bad call on that one because I said that she would become somebody. Apparently not. she was basically trying to leave the town, and her car broke down. She took the car to Pat because Pat got a repair shop. Pat fixed the, Pat basically fixed her car. Later on that day, she went back to Pat, and when Pat saw her, she had a cat, like, because I guess because her husband was a magician, so he had a black cat. So, she had the cat in the car. She had all her luggage in the car, and then Pat was just like, "Yo, are you leaving?" And then she was just like, "Listen." She was like, "I got to get out of this town because," and she told Pat dead ass, she was just like, "Listen, this town isn't what it pretends to be." She was like, "This town is dangerous. These people are dangerous. They said that my husband died of a heart attack," but she was like, "He was in perfect health. That wasn't true." She was like, "They killed him or whatever." So Pat knows what she talked about because he's just like, she talked about the Injustice Society. But he was trying to get information from her so she could know. But she's like, "I've said too much." And then she got in the car and she left. Later on, Pat went to the junkyard because he's trying to find parts to fix his mechanized robot. And then when Pat was going through the junkyard, he saw the black cat running through the junkyard. And then he saw the car that he fixed that belonged to the woman. And he was just like, because remember when the woman was telling him, she was like, "I've said too much," and she warned him about the town. The Injustice Society had her killed. They had the poor woman, or maybe not, because honestly, we didn't see a body. They didn't talk about her death. There was no funeral or anything. She wasn't even on the news, so maybe they just snatched her up and took her someplace. But they gave us the impression that the Injustice Society had her killed, and Pat knows that they had her killed now. So now Pat's like, "Yo, some real shit is going on here." And then finally, Icicle, he went back to Injustice headquarters, and then when he went downstairs, there was some weird Cobra Commander looking dude who was downstairs. He had a Cobra on his mask, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, the Cobra Society, because mostly from Batman Beyond, Cobra was an organization in DC that was notoriously known for gene splicing. They were humans who were splicing themselves together with animals, and mostly cobras. That's why they were called Cobra. This gentleman with the Cobra mask, he was just like, "Yes, it's a shame you had to kill the wizard, but the wizard wasn't loyal, just like the Shade." And I was like, "Shade?" And then they zoomed in on the Injustice photo, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's Shade." It was like, it was the Shade. And I'm not talking about Shade from The Flash, which was like a black cloud of smoke. I'm talking about top hat wearing, black glass wearing, black suit wearing, cane wielding Shade. I'm like, it was like the Shade. And but they said that Shade was a traitor, so I'm like, that doesn't mean he dead though. So I'm like, Shade could make an appearance as well. That would be really cool to see that. But the guy was acting really, the Cobra dude, he's acting really weird, because Icicle even, and this is the funny thing, Icicle was afraid of this dude. Like, you could tell Icicle was like, yo, he was like, "I'm nuts," but he crazy. But he, like the Icicle had said to him, he was like, oh, he said to the guy, he's like, "Yo, how's your daughter doing?" And then the Cobra dude was like, "I'm putting her together quite nicely," or she's coming together now. Like, he implied that he was doing, I don't know if his daughter's half robot. Like, he's basically gene spliced his daughter. Like, he's like, maybe his daughter was sick and she was dying of cancer or something, or she had like some incurable disease, and he used gene splicing to try to save his child. But the way he said it, I was like, yo, this dude performed an experiment on his daughter, and we're gonna find his daughter later, and she gonna be like half woman, half like snake arm or something. So there's my prediction there. And then even then, the Cobra guy had said to Icicle, he was just like, "Yo, let me get the magician's body." And I was like, so he wants his body for a reason. I'm like, this dude is experimenting with gene splicing. So that was it. That was it. Three different sets of stories here. We finally got backstory on one of the characters. I saw in the coming attractions for next week's episode that Beth it's Beth's turn now, because the next episode's called Dr. Midnight and something, and Hour Man and Dr. Midnight, which means not only is Beth going to come into the fold, but another kid is going to come into the fold as well, and maybe it'll be Yolanda's brother. Like, who knows? But and if that's the case, so if because it did say Hour Man, so Beth's not going to be Hour Man, so whoever the other kid is going to be, it's going to be a boy. So that person's gonna be Hourman, which means Beth is basically gonna be Dr. Midnight, which means Beth's gonna get that, which means Beth gonna be walking around with this damn owl. So and that's going, and when the owl come out to play, is game over. So that was that was it. Leave a comment based on all the theories that I put together and everything that I said. Let me know some theories that you have. What's gonna happen with all these people? Who's gonna become who? Your theories on this Cobra Commander guy, the Shade. Let's see if I was right. Let's see if I was wrong. Take care, everybody. Tune in for more, TV reviews. Like I said, we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up next. So for Stargirl episode 4, for Wildcat, take care, and I'm out this bitch.